Welcome to Blake Street Banter, where one of us knows what the word banter means. The other two, that's right, two folks, are along for the ride. Tyler, say what's up.
What up?
Noah, reintroduce yourself. How you doing, big dog?
Yes, it's so good to be back, man. I couldn't even tell you the last time I hopped on one of these. You guys have been doing such a great job. But excited to talk with you guys tonight.
Yeah, you were on the last pod that we did together, not the solo Tyler pod, but you were in the chat trying to break down some chat news, and you got.
Yeah.
you and our boy Sayas got.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Within the first minute of this show, that had to get brought up, huh? Trying to be a student, insider, bringing it to you guys. It's horrible.
It's hard to wear many hats. As a guy that tries to wear different hats, I get it. So throw the shots when we get a chance to and just roll with the punches. Fairy Jerry's with us. What up? About time you joined a live show. We're going late. I haven't been up past 9:30 and God, who knows how long. So this is a treat for all of us. We got Noah on the screen. You got me up late, and then Tyler just, I don't know. He gets antsy, dog. Like he's just like ready to go. Let's do this. We got Skylar. What up? OG. What's up? What's up? Yep. Noah's still alive, everybody. Noah is here. So Noah, you get to go first. Quick reaction of Paul DePodesta to, am I saying that right, Tyler?
I mean, I don't like, there's a couple ways you could probably go about it. So I haven't heard it officially. We could call him, just call him Depot. I think that's what people.
DePodesta, short Depot. How do you feel about the Depot hire?
You know, after the news came out that the two finalists for the job kind of backed out and things went haywire, I was feeling pretty demotivated, not motivated, feeling pretty crappy about the whole thing. And then when this kind of came out of left field, I love it. I think the Rockies, we know it, and we've been saying it for a long time, and most people have. They have to do something different because they play almost, I can't say almost a different sport, but the altitude makes such a big difference when you try to assemble a winning roster. And, you know, we'll break down his history and more, but I like it because it is something different.
It is, yeah. And I don't know if you listened to the pod last time, but I gave my little 6-minute spiel where I almost quit. And I'm back, people. I am back. I am not quitting. This did save me. We are lucky that we got Depot in the mix because, like you, it needed to be something different. I am very curious, like why Sade said no. Like Sade was offered. Like we have it on good authority that Sade was offered, and he turned it down, which is really weird because then you have Podesta coming in saying, yeah, I'm in. What is Paul getting, Tyler? What is Paul getting that Sade wasn't getting or Foreman wasn't getting? And why is Paul saying yes now? Because especially now that we know that he can hire a GM, that he can hire assistants before 2027. Like they're trying to hire a new GM like within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it sounds like. Yeah. And we'll get into that. But what is he getting that the other two said, no, I'm good? Like that's what's really weird to me. That's where I'm confused by.
I mean, I think you have to change the tense there. Like it's almost more about what they had at the time. Like Depot was working for the Cleveland Browns pretty unsuccessfully, like in the moment. The other guys are in good situations. Like they have a lot less reason to want to leave and come to Colorado. Whereas Depot, I think he was looking for that next chapter. He made some changes with Cleveland. They had some good years. Things toppled down the last 1.5 really so far. I think he was looking for a jump and was willing to take the terms. So I think the other guys had leverage and they didn't cave.
Noah, call him out on his bullshit. Why is he wrong?
No, I like everything he said. I was going to comment on, you mentioned Sade had the job, basically said no. I've never heard of a president of baseball operations with a chip on their shoulder, but we can create storylines here and say that it was a blessing in disguise.
We have a firsthand look, I guess. Yeah. I like both your spins on that. I never thought about that angle, Tyler. So I will give you some credit for that. But it still makes me wonder. The question is still there. Like you don't have that opportunity to be ahead of a baseball team. And you've been grinding from Baseball America to actually getting a job offer for Foreman. Like, I don't know, like my ego would say, whatever, sign me up. And I know my ego is not near as big as GMs in baseball potentially. Like there's that ego that goes along with it. I still don't get where you can go to say no to that unless something absolutely is glaring about punching you in the face. Like, yeah, that was a little weird.
I mean, I think with Foreman, I don't know his exact age, but I think he's still in his 30s.
He's
so
younger. Yes.
He's got years ahead of him. I think he'd rather spend. I mean, he might get a job in the next year or two as a GM or president of baseball operations. I think he'd be happy though to spend 5 more years in Cleveland and get his ideal job versus just make that jump now because we've talked about it a little bit. It's really hard to you can't really go back down the mountain. Like once you're a president of baseball ops or a GM, you're not going back to an assistant GM role. Like you've kind of lapsed your time. So I think he's waiting his turn. Sade is a little, he's definitely not old. I think he's under 50. Same kind of thing though. I think he might wait a couple more years, but also otherwise is just happy in Arizona. And we'll never fully know the details behind the curtain of like what made those guys not so thrilled with the offer. I mean, we have clues, but I think with Foreman, it makes a lot of sense. Sade, I'm surprised that we know that he got an offer and didn't take it.
I think it's weird.
The whole thing of the concept, and I understand that at their positions, they've accomplished so much and seen almost everything. The concept of denying a job like this, when we heard, I believe the word was tantalizing, that Heyman might have tweeted, like the job was considered tantalizing to most baseball people because no one has figured it out yet. Like the biggest analytics nerds per se have not been able to put a winning, whether they've been in Colorado or not, the end goal of trying to put a winning product on the field at 20th and Blake. It's extremely attractive. And I think this is more of a football reference, but today the New York Giants, they fired their head coach. And a couple of years ago, the mic'd up video was shown of their GM, Joe Schoen, and his sons talking about the pre-draft process, who he should take in the first round. And his kids basically said, well, Dad, if you fail, you only get this job once, so you might as well just go all in. So I don't know. Being able to be in a position to deny such not a shiny position, because with the Rockies, like it is probably the hardest place to build a winning team, maybe in American sports. But it shows that something must have really been iffy for them to say no.
Yeah, that's where I need the Athletic to do their thing and start asking questions that we need to know. Like there's something where I know where there's something we're missing, and I really want to know what that is. And I like the Paul Depot hire. I do. I don't think he is as bad as what Cleveland is saying. Like the fact that Cleveland Browns fans are stoked that he left makes me feel very Rockies fan-esque. Like, hey, I understand what you guys are going through because you're just kind of looking for a chopping head to chop off the block or whatever that saying is. It's like, all right, this guy who, if you ask maybe 50, I bet if you ask 50 Cleveland Browns fans, like, who is Paul DePodesta and what does he do? I bet you 48 of them have no idea what he actually does for the Cleveland Browns. And it's just the social media presence, like, oh, this guy sucks because he was part of the Browns for this amount of time, 99 losses, 1 tie, whatever the final record is. But like, how much did he actually do it? I did do some research before getting on. Thank you to Twitter, that the NFL teams all do their survey at the end of the year, like MLB teams do, and say, yeah, the Browns lead the analytics department by a ton. They're number 1 of 32 teams that have an analytics department. And you got to believe that's Depot's doing. Like, he's the one that's bringing that in there, creating that sense. So like that part, I'm not really concerned about. Are we concerned? Whoever wants to answer can be answering. Are we concerned that he's been out of baseball for 10, 15 years? Are we concerned that he was fired by the Dodgers, who do everything right, which is bullshit? But he turned the Mets into something. He's been but he was terrible with the Cleveland Browns. Are there any red flags that say, you know what, Paul DePodesta is not the guy going forward? But before you answer that, Sean, you're right. Go Goats. Who wants to take it?
I mean, I think there's risk for sure. As you mentioned, the little timeline. been out of baseball for 10 years. There's a lot to learn and relearn coming back. But at the same time, basically he wasn't a present. Like trying to compare the NFL to Major League Baseball is a little tough because in the NFL, it's like it is a GM and that's like it, unless you're Jerry Jones. Like that is the high role. The Browns were kind of the exception that they had him in this like executive. I don't know what the role was, but it was a strategy role, which he picked the GMs, he picked the head coaches. He was almost like the puppet master, but he wasn't really doing anything very specific like day to day with the organization. I think that actually will translate pretty well to a president of baseball ops role. Like that is the role he had in the NFL, was kind of one of one, being above the GM. I think if he just like creates the grand blueprint, he did it. I feel like I'm in like the minority, like the big minority here, that I don't think the Browns under his kind of influence were as bad as they could. Like the Browns were the laughingstock of the NFL for like 15 years, including his first 2 years there. And then they go like 7 wins, 8 wins, 11 wins. Like they were actually pretty good at one point. Deshaun Watson, that situation, I'm sure he deserves like responsibility for that. Paul DePodesta for bringing him in. The Browns were actually like okay run. And to your point, the analytics, like I think that'll carry over. But it's been a long time, so that's risk. We'll see.
Yeah, to your point about him with the Browns, when he first arrived there, they in 2016 and 17 they went a combined 1-31, but then 2020 they were able to make the playoffs for the first time since 2002, so 18 years. The Rockies, I would say, are bottoming out right now. That this past season, barely avoiding the loss record for a single season. I'll go back to Aaron, your initial question when we opened up, like, are we happy with the hire? And it sounds like we all are. I think the Rockies have put us in a position where what would have made us not happy? Simply hiring someone that had previously worked for the organization. Is that the bar for why we're all happy? I think it's a valid question, because sure, it might apply to me.
Yes, it's 100%.
So is it that we're stoked about the hire, or just that, they didn't bend the knee? But
I think yes. I think also though, in order to even be in these conversations, I feel like you do have to be pretty qualified. And so, you read the resume and you're like, wow, this is somebody who's done some things. But yeah, I think the answer to your question is yes.
Yeah, they met the bar and went a little bit above it. But I think, our BSB chat was going off about this kind of conversation because I think we all had the same expectation of our hires, but our outlook on it was different. At least mine compared to Isaac's. Like we were saying the same thing. Like if it was Adam Ottavino, if Adam Ottavino is the GM, are we mad about it? I'm 100% mad about it, but I think he would be okay. Isaac is all for it, but only with the ceiling being as okay. Like we get to the same part, the same expectation of that Adam Ottavino being the GM or president, but we come at it from two different angles, two different sides. So like, what are we happy about? I think it is a very heavy loaded with, it's not a Rockies baby from somewhere, connection somewhere. I think that really is what it comes down to. And then you bring in all the stuff that he brings on top of it. The analytics. He was the forefront of the analytics. And now people are throwing that against it. But yeah, but it's been 20 years since analytics. Now everybody has that analytics. How is he going to do anything different? You can always look at analytics and find a way to turn a team around. Tyler and I talk about it on the data dump whenever we do. Like we are very basic of it, but you can look at some of these numbers and go, yeah, this is going to work. Let's go do some models. Let's get all the nerds, the laundry department all in one spot, and let's run these numbers to see what's actually going to work and look at that. I think a guy like Paul with that background is going to be able to figure it. And the biggest thing for me is kind of like what Tyler said about what his run in Cleveland was. He's the puppeteer. He's the one hiring all the smart people to be in the right positions to go make moves and do what you're supposed to and be really good at your job. That's something I have been preaching since day one of this whole process. Is I want a guy that can change the culture, that can is smart at controlling leaders, and go tell this guy, go do your job and get your team ready to go. If you can hire somebody that can lead a team to go be good, that's 20 million times better than somebody that used to play and understands analytics a little bit. At least for me, that's a big part of it. So I think once it wasn't Rockies related, you start breaking down and looking at it like, yeah, this is a little bit better. I want to go to the chat, the comments real quick. This is funny because last time, Luke, you were here. You were the positive dude. You're the guy coming in with a positive attitude, like everything. And yet here you are saying DePodesta is being out for 10 years and the Rockies being 10 years behind means they'll see eye to eye beautifully. I knew the Rockies was in you a little bit, Luke. I knew it was there. But I do want to go back to your other one here, Luke. Sade and Foreman out had to do with Dick not wanting to give new contracts for the expected 2027 lockout. That's what I heard as well. But this is where I'm confused by, because DePodesta is literally being told you can go hire a GM. And so if you're given the reins to go spend money, so to speak, even though that's what we're being told the other two walked away from because they couldn't go spend money, that's where I feel like there's some kind of disconnect and some kind of glossing over the dark truth that the Rockies try to do. And I don't know. No, I don't know how far off I am with that, but that just seems, that's the weird, icky part that I just don't feel comfortable about, where I think there is something more.
I would agree. I'm not sure the Rockies, because of the way that their ownership and then baseball power through that family has trickled down through the organization, are already like, Paul, he's got balls for taking the job because he knows going into it, okay, the reason that these two prior candidates backed out is undeniably what we've been referencing, and the fear of not being able to have complete control. One of the other chats mentioned that whoever he hires beneath him is going to be the best way to judge him. Absolutely.
Agreed.
The GM that he brings in, and then every other part of the personnel that studies and scouts the players, that will be the key. And I almost wonder if the Rockies, the success that the Colts are having this year after their owner passed away and Carly Ursay Gordon is all in the public sphere, and she's getting praised, I think, because the Colts are winning, primarily number one.
Exactly why she's getting praised. Yes.
She's on the sideline in the public eye all the time. And it doesn't really apply to baseball because I can't think of one owner off the top of my head that's constantly there and available for the public like this. But if Depot was able to, or the new GM that he brings in is able to, number one, just connect with the fans, because not even a magician could flip this team into a playoff team this upcoming year. I understand that. So connecting with the fans and getting them to buy in will be a process. And I know winning heals all, like undoubtedly. The Colts are going to fire their GM, their head coach, and cut Anthony Richardson if it didn't work out this year. And Daniel Jones saved everything. Now, that basically is pulling a rabbit out of a hat there. But the Rockies got to find a way to keep the fan base engaged. And the whole timeline with the lockout, it's so hard that's basically out of their control. And it is. And that's such a hard issue to navigate that I don't even feel comfortable speaking expectations into the air because it's so unknown what will happen with that. Hopefully that made sense.
Yeah, it does. Like, I agree. I agree with your concept. Like, why is decisions being made about the 2027 CBA when we have no idea? But again, good authority that's what Dick was saying. And Luke, you might be onto something here. That's why we love the chat. Thank you for hanging out with us again. Sade wanted to subtract, and PDB is good at keeping Dick's war buddies on board. Possibly, right? Like Dick said, you are hired. You can hire yourself a GM as long as you don't get rid of this, and that. Where maybe Sade and Foreman were like, yeah, I want to clear. This guy has to go. That guy has to go. This guy doesn't bring anything to the table. And maybe that's where the disconnect and the disagreement was at. And like on that, like we got reports that Depot talked to Warren Schaefer today. Don't know about what regards. Maybe Warren's in the GM running, who knows? But that would be kind of crazy, right? Like, hey, here you go. Maybe that was the carrot that Dick held over Depot. Was like, hey, you have to hire Warren as some kind of capacity as that manager. but he's having these conversations and he said the right thing. I don't know if I'm looking too far deep into the comments. It just kind of looks like the typical, hey, I'm the new guy here, I'm not going to ruffle any feathers. But Warren Schaefer was talked to by Paul DePodesta. Don't know what that means or anything like that. But there is a GM coming to town, right, Tyler? So, like, what Skyler said in the chat, whoever he hires is kind of going to be his reign. I think we all kind of agree that with that sentiment to an extent. But what is being able to hire a GM, especially in the next 2 weeks, even though GM meeting started today, I guess it's probably just like cocktail hour today. What does this mean? Like, what does being able to hire a GM mean for the Rockies, as especially an organization that's had a terrible GM and now we have a president of baseball operations, this whole new culture that we're trying to build? How is that? What are all these levels to this idea?
I mean, it really just comes with more like qualification, more quality. Yeah, we've had subpar baseball leadership for, I don't even, like 15 years. Like Dan O'Dowd was very capable back in, like, especially at the time, like very capable. You go through Bridich, you go through Schmidt, who for one reason or another, several reasons, just not suited for that role. We're getting a guy now, the president, who seems more capable than those guys. Like a big picture thinker. That's great. And now we get a GM that hopefully is better again than either Schmidt or Bridich. So just getting to spread yourselves out, I think that's a huge reason the Rockies have struggled for so long, is you don't have enough eyes, but in a lot of ways, those eyes aren't what you want. Like, you now have two, well, we don't know who this GM is going to be quite yet, but you should have two very high quality leaders to spread responsibility out. And, I think Bill Schmidt probably had too much on his plate. No one underneath him to really take up some of those responsibilities. This is an opportunity to have more tasks done, more ideas on the table. So this GM thing is very, very exciting. There's a chance we get a name out there, and it's kind of like, well, I don't know that accomplishes so much, and we'll see. I think we've heard Thad Levine thrown around a little bit, good friend of Paul DePodesta, maybe someone who interviewed for the job that Paul DePodesta got. We don't really know. But you're going to get two capable people running the show versus one sub-capable person.
It's the whole lockout in 2027 thing it's looming on every thought I have, because it's going to be it's going to make it a crapshoot for building. Depot is just starting in such a hole with that happening. And it makes me wonder if the other guys interviewing for the job, like, I know we've been theorizing about what they could have been facing to deny the job, but is the uncertainty of 2027, is that just like when you factor in expansion too?
Yeah.
This,
I think it's running through the league. Like, because I mean, the Angels only signed Kurt Suzuki as their manager for 1 year.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, what if
you've ever seen a GM or a manager hired for 1 year?
What if we get such, like, I'm not saying that it doesn't matter the initial guy that he brings in, because it absolutely does for trust.
Yeah.
But it is such a weird landscape right now that not to say that you want to see a guy brought in and then fired after 1 year. And I'm not talking about Depot here. I'm talking about who he hires. But, like, he could take a risk if he wanted to.
And he has to be given that leash to make that risk. Otherwise, they wouldn't be publicly saying a GM thing. Because, like, the Rockies care about optics and PR, and that's huge. Like, I mean, I think we kind of established that just through this pod and kind of watching over the last few weeks. So they're saying that he gets to hire a GM within these next 2 weeks. So they're hiring a GM. With what leash does that GM have? Like, you get a year on the job and then who knows? Like, which would be weird. I don't know. I don't know enough about this part of the landscape. This is where Tyler always tells me to shut up and here, this is how it works. But it's weird. It is weird. But, like, should 2027 have that much of effect on all these hires, people accepting the job, as well as the Rockies given that job? I don't know. You kind of have to. I don't think I would be thinking about it as an owner. Like, all right, this is what we have to do. Let's do this, and we'll deal with whatever speed bumps we have to later.
I think it should impact you through. Like right now, they have a blank canvas. They've got to try to make the most of it. I think what they're going to do right now is kind of take their time and like filling this canvas out, which I don't really agree with. Kind of to your point, I don't think that should be dragging on them. I don't think there's going to be really any limitations on the front office building. I don't think that's a real thing. I mean, I guess the thing what will become difficult is when you have that lockout. I think that's the difficulty itself. Like there's all this time off. I'm not sure what the details around that are for paying your employees. If the lockout impedes that, it makes sense though to more slowly build the staff, but it shouldn't be this huge giant obstacle right now. I don't think it really is. I think it is an obstacle for like, we're not going to add as many like analysts right now or, whatever. I don't think they're going to do that. I also don't think it should be much of an obstacle.
Correct.
I think it's so funny, and this thought just crossed my mind. The impending doom of a lockout, while on a smaller scale, YouTube TV and ESPN can't figure anything out. So none of my people can watch the Monday Night Football game tonight. And then also, my dad is trying to fly out, and the government's in a lockout right now. So think about how crazy I don't know, the overarching themes of dealing with a lockout. And we're talking about trying to build a competitive baseball team.
This is our getaway now. I don't need to bring it.
It's just I believe that you're right, Tyler. It shouldn't, with the state that the Rockies are in, it should not be in the way. And I hope it's not. It's just it's so interesting to me as my brain tries to work through all the possibilities. And also thinking about, I hope expansion happens sooner rather than later so the division can get realigned.
Get us out of this place. Yes.
Thinking big picture here.
Yeah. You're a macro mind right now. You're just thinking big picture all across the board.
I think though, to your kind of doomsday point, no, I think it'll be a long lockout though. I think that in some ways that's sort of this Rockies like weird approach to this lockout that we're hearing speculated on. It might be like a half season type of lockout. Like the last one we had, they agreed in spring training. Like this could be eats up in May and June potentially, just because we're talking like salary cap. We're talking how do we limit the Dodgers, and 10 to 15 owners are going to be like, we need a salary cap. The players will never. There's just so many things that the owners and players are going to be completely at odds with. So, the details of that are above a lot of people's pay grade.
That's not what we're here for. Luke in the chat. Best case, the president of baseball operations is building and improving the systems that 29 other teams have in place. GM is assembling the roster. Skylar actually agrees with somebody, which is very rare for him. I really agree with that point, Luke. PBO should definitely be considered about building the franchise. The should be focusing on competing. I agreed. I think we all agree with all that for sure. Like Paul is hiring the right people, and whatever that means with 2027, I don't know. I feel like Dick being Dick and where he is in the grand scheme of all the owners, I feel like he has a pretty good idea of what 2027 CBA negotiations might be compared to maybe one of the other 29 owners. I don't know. I could be just trying to find a positive in that. I don't know. So we'll see. I think the lockout might take a whole season if salary cap actually happens. Agreed. Bring back 1993. Damn, I'm not combative. Yes, you are. Catch his face today. Every time, Skyler. There's another one. All comes from a good place. Skyler, love you having you out in the chat. Before we go to the next questions, before we get to GM meetings, unless you guys want to add anything else with Paul DePodesta, I think overall we're excited about somebody being new and in place, and then we'll see what happens from here. But we have to give a shout out, a recognition, a call to action, so to speak, for Braylon Wimmer. Got news a few days ago that he was literally driving to a ball game and had a seizure in the car, and he was taken to the hospital, and they found a brain tumor and he has to go. He's going under surgery think in a few days, I think later this week, there is a GoFundMe account out there. I'm posting it into the YouTube chat. I'll post it on the podcast description as well. If you do find a way to support Braylon, please do so. I think they're asking for $45,000. Yeah, $45,000, $50,000 for the surgery, brain surgery, and all the recovery that goes along with that. Yeah, it's just a lot for Braylon himself and the family that goes along with it. So thoughts and prayers out to the Wimmer family and all that are involved. I know I have donated and will probably donate a little bit more. So if you are able to donate, if not, at least retweet our tweet or somebody else's tweet that is getting it out there. So with that being said, let's get into the GM meetings tomorrow through Thursday. Not going to lie, I didn't know the GM meeting was starting today. I don't know much about it. I know it's usually the kickoff to the winter, the off season. Here we are ready to go. So Noah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming Tyler knows more than we do. What happens in the GM meetings? What are we looking for, especially with the new hire? What are we hoping to gain in these next 3 days by the end of Thursday, other than a one clip videoed by 3 media guys all sitting out at the same time?
Tyler, this is all you, big dog.
I mean, yes. Take that, Tyler.
Frankly, I don't think. I mean, I would say a lot actually happens, but it is all behind the scenes. It doesn't manifest really into anything for a few more weeks. This is like, all right, let's maybe revisit some conversations we couldn't. We started at some other time. Start some new conversations. Like, hey, the Mets are like, hey, Detroit, Tarek Skubal, what are we thinking there? This is like the time to get that, dialogue a little bit more, moving. So it's a lot of just, conversing back and forth. Some players go with their agent, like some of the bigger free agents go, they kind of figure out who their suitors are. It's just a lot of planning and preparatory stuff. So for the Rockies right now, it actually might be kind of impactful that it sounds like, Patrick Saunders said tonight that they might hire a GM as soon as this week, which that'd be a really quick timeline. Well, what that really means is that Paul DePodesta might be fielding some meetings with personnel from teams that are there. That could be an assistant general manager for a team, anyone really. Even if you're not with a team, like if you're like Thad Levine, you're not with a team right now, you're probably in Las Vegas. So I think that means this week Depot is going to be meeting with potential candidates. That's the only way that job could really get filled. So, but it's just, I imagine it's a lot of just sitting in conference rooms. You get your 15 minutes. All right, we're not taking that offer. See you later. We'll talk soon. This is sort of just laying the foundation for the offseason.
Sounds boring as hell.
Hey, they're in Vegas.
That does not get me going at all.
There's a couple of those execs right now at a table right now,
dude,
throwing cards.
The only thing I can hope for reported tomorrow, hopefully Kevin Henry is out on the craps table. He sees Paul DePodesta talking to whoever, the Red Sox guys or the Yankees guys, and go, all right, if we hit a certain number, you have to take KB and a bag of baseballs from us and eat all the contract. And they're gambling contracts, particularly some of those hard to move ones. Like RKB for your Roman Anthony if I hit this 21. Like that's the kind of action that we need to be reported. That's the only way I'm getting excited about this. Like, hey, let's sit down and talk for 15 minutes. I get the whole point of it, but that would suck to report.
If Tyler's right and the players with their agents are there, then I need a picture of Depot standing next to Pete Alonso tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh man. That's how you get a fan base excited right there.
Well, I guess Wild the Innocent in the chat makes a very good point. I almost forgot that this was happening, that they are doing like a Major League Baseball golf tournament in Vegas, basically as the GM meetings end. So I feel like that might be the true highlight of this week for baseball.
Is so ridiculous.
It's these baseball players hitting the crap out of a ball off the tee box. So
I think you just broke news to a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people knew about that. I only knew that because I was running across Dexter Fowler's Instagram, and he goes, "I'm happy to represent the Cubs this week as the on the MLB Open." It's like, what the hell, D-Fowl? What about the Rockies? But then again, it's the Rockies, so I get it. So, but I think they have a vet from the team and a current player from the team, each one. I think Mookie's going to be represented the Dodgers as well. I think I saw that. But like, was it Freeland and Matt Holliday? Who's
I
who are
don't
the
know if
reps?
it's. I don't know if
I
they've
don't even know if
like
they're
released
announced.
that. Yeah, I guess not.
On
So
MLB's actual website, they're only showing me 5, and it's the featured players: Jimmy Rollins, John Smoltz, Justin Turner, David Wright, and Mookie. So
Yeah.
come on, MLB, market, please.
yeah, this could be as big as like the Ryder Cup. Come on.
NLAL. Let's get some actual comments in here. Luke, we need an idea of any teams that have any interest in some of the prospects we've seen enough of. Tolia, Romo. Let's throw Veen into that. Yeah, that's probably what some of these conversations are happening. What can I give you for Kyle Karros or Brenta Doyle or even Ezekiel Tovar? I think Hunter Goodman's name should be being thrown around these GM meetings because I think his value is the highest right now after winning that Silver Slugger. Shout out to your mom's favorite player for that. Does Vina Fernandez get us a back end rotation guy? No, I don't.
Unfortunately.
I unfortunately no. I don't think that value's there anymore. But I agree, Luke. This is where that conversation is happening, and that stuff sounds way more exciting than how Tyler put it out there. So
you don't think the initial call on Tarek Skubal where they're like, "Oh, we'll give you our number 10 prospect for Skubal." You don't think that's exciting?
No, because all that comes along with it. Skubal's gonna have a haul, and the only people that can match that, because you're not trading the farm for Skubal if you know you're not signing him long term.
Yeah, it is just a ring around the rosy until the Dodgers swoop in.
Yeah, the Dodgers are going to give up their top 20 prospects, and I don't know how the Dodgers keep doing that, even though their prospects are shit. They don't trade any better than anybody else's. But trade talks, yes. That's for a later pod. We're not going to get into that. Deadline to protect from the Rule 5 is in a week from tomorrow. That's exciting. That's big stuff. And then the non-tender deadline is the 21st. Then the winter meetings were a lot of the action that I get excited about. It's December 7th through the 10th. Any of that you guys want to touch base on? I know the Arizona Fall League All-Star game was last night. Kate Denton and Charlie Condon both played in it. I'm not going to be honest, I didn't look at their stats, but I don't think they did anything extraordinary, knowing that I don't know their stats. But yeah, maybe Tyler, how many spots are going to be left on the 40-man? How many spots need to be moved? I feel like you would know this better than Noah and I right off the bat, just because you have more time than us. But it's what are you going about the 40-man?
It's a night of strays. This is kind of tricky because usually they do have an extra spot or two right now. Like they're at 37, and you can add the guys you want to add without. I feel like the non-tender deadline should be first anyway. That to me doesn't make any sense. I think you should cut down before you add guys. But I think they'll probably make at least one more spot. Like at minimum, I think they will make one more spot. They're going to add Wellington Herrera. They're going to add either Hughes or Thompson, probably both. So they need to make some cuts. I think they'll get it down to 37 before November 18th when they're adding guys. And then the non-tender deadline. I mean, there might be a few more guys heading out then. Like really, and kind of do those questions that Luke posed about the trading the prospects. Depot has he has some loyalty because I don't think the Monforts would let him just tear things apart, but he doesn't really have any loyalty to any of these players. So there's a chance it is going to be hard decision, from a fan perspective, like, damn, that's tough. It's going to be that over and over. Like, that was a former first round pick. Oh, another former first round pick gone off the roster. So I think they'll make a couple spots before the deadline to protect guys, and then they'll get rid of a couple more at the non-tender deadline.
Right along with that, a question that I've been wondering about since the announcement: is there what Rockies player uniform would you buy next right now? It's very hard because, and I'm saying this because my one active jersey is no longer a Rocky.
Yeah,
I'm Marquez.
I thought about you. He
gave me a great 5-year run. So now I'm in the market again, right? So it's hard.
You can't rule out another Herman season. You never know.
That's true.
I don't think he's going to have a huge market, and the Rockies need some innings.
Yeah, the way he ended, last year. I think it's safe to buy a Chase Dollander shirt. Charlie
Only
Condon.
a shirt, though. Only a shirt, though. Key word there.
Yeah. No, jersey. Dollander, and I think you're safe if you get a Condon or a Holiday jersey. The Holiday one has two different ways to do, especially if he comes out as a number 2. No, what was Matt's Holiday? No, that was too low. What was Matt Holiday's number? 27?
He was
5?
5. I'm pretty sure he was 5.
Yeah, but I could see Toby getting moved. I was having this conversation in a chat with a buddy today. It's like, if you're the GM, who's safe? Like, who are the major league players on this roster that you keep for the next 5 years? And I think the only one I came up with Chase Dollander, and I really believe in Kyle Karros. I think he's legit over at third base. I think you try to move anybody else. Again, don't want to see your monster player go, but I think his highest values right now, and I don't know what else you have across the board. Just looking at the major league roster right now, I think those two.
I think Tovar stays just because it'd be hard to trade him. Like, he's a lot of teams already have their a shortstop. But B, like, you trade for a guy with a contract that you didn't agree to. Like, it's a pretty long-term deal. I think that makes him just a weird for another team to want to trade for him. It makes it weird, and I think he's also a very young shortstop with a lot of room to grow under team control. I don't think you would want to move him. I would say that Dollander actually, I wouldn't entertain that myself, but teams might call because he'd be a lot better outside of Coors Field. But it'd be kind of this unfortunate selling low on a guy who has easily ace potential for even maybe the Rockies, but for other teams definitely has ace upside. I think he could be in some trade talks, though. Just after seeing him this year at Coors Field, like, the stuff clearly as it stands is not a fit for altitude. Could they tweak that? Definitely. But I think he could be someone that possibly gets moved.
Nothing for the Silver Slugger winning catcher?
I think he gets moved. New GM, new president of baseball operations, new head. I think you're looking at what value you have and where you have it. And I think Hunter Goodman might be the one that you can get the most in return for. And you ride the wave with Braxton Fulford and Drew Romo. You go get another Elias Diaz for a few years, and you figure it out. And I think there's value there. I think he has the most value, which would be enticing to move. That's the only reason I wouldn't buy his jersey, just because I think he could be moved. I don't think anybody else has the kind of value to be moved away. I guess it's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah,
I think maybe Jordan Beck.
I think on the Goodman point, though, I think Depot's hand gets smacked off of the phone if it gets close. I think there's still we all talk about it. There is like a veto authority power in this organization. I think that phone is getting slapped out of his hand if anything is getting close. I don't think Dick Monfort would allow Hunter Goodman to get traded after Silver Slugger season. I don't think that could happen because I know it makes logical sense. I don't think it could happen though.
They have to fill out a promotional calendar. Who gets the bobblehead nights?
They already got them planned. They can't. They're like, dude, we can't return these now.
Kyle Farmer, Tyro Estrada, all have theirs.
Jacob Stallings.
Jacob Stallings bobblehead. Shit, bring back Jake Cave. Give me a Jake Cave bobblehead. Yelling from right field type thing. That would be fun.
Can you imagine, though, Hunter Goodman going to the Orioles for prospects, and then you have McMahon, Story, and Goodman every 3 days? I don't know, going at it. That'd be weird. All the former Rockies.
All of our favorites.
All former Rockies.
Jeff Hoffman?
Yeah, Hoffman.
Jeff Hoffman.
The Rays need one. I don't think the Rays have a former Rocky.
Tinoco. Yeah. No, who was closing games for them last year? Is he still on there? No, it wasn't Tinoco. Who was the one? We loved his choo-choos. I think there was somebody closing games. Look up the Marlins saves from 2025. And
Brian Baker, I think but he was like,
no, it's not Brian Baker.
Because he was a former Rocky.
No, Skyler throws out a good name, Joe Rock, that we let go. Ended up there. Traded.
Connor Siebold was there. He was there. Connor Siebold became that's very like
Yeah, no,
Jesus
Tinoco. I was right. Jesus Tinoco got 3 saves for him last year.
Wow.
Oh, in 20. Okay. Yeah. 2024. I thought you meant 2025.
This year, this past baseball season.
Did he actually get 3 this year?
Is this 20? I don't know what year I am. Yeah, this is 2024. There was a season between it. Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm just getting my years mixed up. It was.
I think that would
count.
count.
No, Jesus Tinoco got 4 saves for him.
Wow.
Yeah, a negative -0.1 WAR in the season, but got 4 saves.
Oh, Miami. That's Miami.
Miami, not Tampa. Yeah, I was thinking Miami. Sorry. That's where we got messed up. Yep. Jesus Tinoco, dog.
We need more. Yeah, we need more former Rockies repping now, but not Hunter Goodman. Not Hunter Goodman.
No. All right. So who are the main cores? Who are the cores for the next 5 years? Who are the untouchables for DePodesta and new GM who are on the current 40 man? Not thinking Ethan or Charlie or Cole Carrick or any of that.
I think just Tovar.
He's the only untouchable.
On the 40, yeah.
Oh man, I would hate to see Doyle go because it's just the worst possible season this past year.
Yeah.
Like I think he's got more in the tank there, but I know that he's sneaky older than people think.
Yeah.
So
I think he's going into 28, 29 age season.
Yeah. His defense at Coors Field is just so valuable.
Cole Carrick, I think, is just as good, which again, love Brenton Doyle. I love watching him play defense. I just think you have Brenton Doyle and Cole Carrick. Yeah, I think Tovar might be the only one that you don't touch, I guess. I still think Chase. I'm not touching Chase either.
I wouldn't pick up the phone to make calls about Chase, but if they came in and you're Paul, I think you have to be like, you at least give it thought.
It's got to be a blow me out of the water.
The Jets weren't taking calls on Sauce Gardner, and then they got offered 2 firsts and said, "Holy crap, yeah, we'll trade him." So I know can't trade picks, but
three top 10 prospects. That's got to be the minimum.
I mean, it's tough to think that. I don't know. I think he's one of those that you wouldn't be able to get the match. That's almost what makes him unlikely to be traded. You wouldn't be able to get someone to meet the fair price because he just had like a 6 ERA season, even though he's a lot better than that.
Which is hard for the new GM of Paul DePodesta to figure out. Welcome to Colorado Rockies and baseball at altitude, big dog. You get to have these kind of conversations and people undervaluing your players because of what the stats are saying. So see how you figure it out, see where it goes from there. Anything else for the good of the cause, fellas?
I mean,
I think so.
This could be a fun week. If not, like the next 2 weeks, it'll be like, all right, maybe we'll feel like the Rockies are moving in the right direction, or we'll be like, okay, at least this is better than it was before. That wouldn't be the most exciting feeling, but there's a chance it'll be good.
They're going to give us something to be thankful for on Thanksgiving. There we go.
Oh, that's so hot take there. No one ended it with that. We will be thankful for something the Colorado Rockies done between now and Thanksgiving. On Thanksgiving, go Rocks and the minor league affiliates. Woo!